Jazzcast Pros.
On today's episode of the Doze Podcast, we're embarking on a journey to unlock another essential element of feeling your best, and that's making room for mental rest, another vital component among the 7 pillars of well-being. In a world that glorifies productivity and hustle culture, it's easy to overlook the importance of mental rest. But the truth is, without it, our minds become overwhelmed, our bodies exhausted, and our spirits depleted. Today, we'll uncover why mental rest is not just a luxury, but a necessity for thriving in today's fast-paced world. Join me as we explore how carving out space for mental rest can transform your life, enhance your productivity, and ignite your inner spark. Welcome back to the Doze Podcast, your go-to destination for all things sleep and wellness. I'm your host, Soda Kuczkowski, your trusted sleep coach, here to guide you through another enlightening episode into how to achieve your best sleep. Today, we're diving into the often overlooked realm of mental rest, another essential component of overall well-being that deserves our attention. So I want to start by exploring what mental rest actually is. Now, mental rest isn't just about taking breaks. It's about giving your mind the opportunity to unwind, recharge, and recover from the demands of everyday life. It's the act of giving your mind a break from constant stimulation, cognitive tasks, and emotional stressors. It involves consciously stepping away from the constant thinking, problem-solving, and emotional juggling. It's like hitting pause on the mental treadmill, letting your mind kick back and recharge. I want you to think of it as a power nap for your brain. What I often find when working with clients is that what they think provides a mental rest can actually add to their mental restlessness. Easily the most common is for individuals, maybe you've done this yourself, sitting down and flipping through the streaming channels or social media, trying to distract your mind. But this could actually add to sensory restlessness, which we're actually going to be talking about next week. So how do you know if you're experiencing a mental rest deficit? And what does it look like? First, you might be experiencing information overload. If you feel like you're being constantly bombarded with information from emails and social media and news sources, which can overwhelm your mind and lead to that mental fatigue, right? That's why if after a day of mental stimulation, you sit down to scroll, it takes you further into this mental restlessness. Decision fatigue, the constant need to make decisions, both big and small. Throughout the day, this can deplete your mental resources and leave you feeling exhausted. If you tend to be a multitasker, while it may seem to make you more efficient, right? Multitasking can actually hinder productivity and mental clarity, leading to increased stress and cognitive strain. And I have a great tip I'm going to be sharing with you that I now use as a reformed multitasker. Perfectionism, striving for perfection in every aspect of your life, can create unnecessary pressure and anxiety, ultimately draining your mental energy. I know I'm guilty of this, and learning to let go for sure takes practice. But I've also found that the older that I get, the more I realize the things that are truly important. And last, emotional exhaustion. Navigating complex emotions and interpersonal dynamics can take a toll on your mental well-being, especially if you don't have healthy coping mechanisms in place. Now, you can identify a mental rest deficit by asking yourself a few key questions. Do you find it difficult to concentrate or focus on tasks? Or do you often find that you're mentally overwhelmed when completing any tasks or things on your to-do list? Are you easily irritable or prone to mood swings? Do you struggle to make decisions or solve problems effectively? Are you experiencing increased stress or anxiety levels? Do you experience frustration when you think about your day? And as an additional insight, do you snap at your family or friends or coworkers about small, insignificant things? These are all ways to know if it's time to stop, take notice, and to take care of your mental rest. The point of a mental rest is to redirect the brain from activities that are overly intense, and that includes stepping away from your devices and tech to reset mentally. That comes from creating space to calm your thoughts and relieve the mental pressure you may be feeling. Now, everyone's different, but everyone has the potential to have a mental rest deficit. And there are some ways to identify your risk for a mental rest deficit besides engaging in forms of escapism. So that's what I was talking about, scrolling through your phone or flipping through the channels, right? If you tend to do these things, it may be time for a mental rest. You tend to overly self-critique yourself. You have ruminating thoughts, so you can't turn off your brain. You tend to think about or relive past events. You often dwell on the what ifs, or you have fear of the future. Or you tend to never be fully present. Now, we can all fall into this pattern, and it can challenge us, and it can create a space that depletes us mentally. So it's important to prioritize and engage in activities that promote relaxation and reduce our stress. So now that we've identified the signs of a mental rest deficit, what are some of the proactive steps that you can take to avoid reaching this point, right? And getting into that mental burnout from happening and put you into a space so that you can catch it early on. First, learning to recognize the early signs. Be aware of the subtle cues like you have difficulty concentrating or you're feeling overwhelmed. Identifying these signs early can allow you to be proactive and take steps to address them. Assess your priorities. Evaluate commitments and responsibilities, and learn to delegate, postpone, or eliminate tasks that don't align with your values or bring you fulfillment. Learn to set boundaries, establishing clear boundaries between work, personal, life, and leisure. And communicate these boundaries effectively and prioritize your downtime. You've heard me talk about the fact that, if I'm looking to read or, to engage in some sort of hobby, I put it right on my to-do list or I block it off on my calendar. Manage time effectively. Break tasks into manageable chunks, prioritize high priority items, and allocate specific time blocks. Avoid overcommitting and be realistic about what's achievable. Now, I'd mentioned this in a previous episode, but for Christmas, I received this great time blocking tool to prevent me from going down a rabbit hole with emails or tasks and to remind me to take my breaks. And I'll drop a link for it below. The important thing is to incorporate short breaks into your daily routine that allows your mind to reset and recharge between tasks. One thing that I often like to recommend to clients, especially for individuals who sit behind a computer all day, is the 20-20-20 rule. And this has a lot to do with eye strain. So every 20 minutes, you're going to look 20 feet across the room and hold it for 20 seconds. And this kind of helps with that resetting. Prioritizing self-care. Make self-care non-negotiable and engage in activities like exercise, meditation, or journaling to nourish your mind, body, and soul. And of course, as I'd mentioned before, learning to unplug. We could all use this, right? Actively taking breaks from screens and digital devices to reduce sensory input and give your brain a chance to rest from constant stimulation. Of course, looking at managing our stress, you want to incorporate stress management techniques like deep breathing or progressive muscle relaxation or mindfulness meditation into your routine. Use those calming breaths that I often reference. And that's just simply remembering to breathe. Because when we don't, it also adds to physical tension in our bodies. Engage in meaningful activities. So look to pursue activities aligned with your passions and your values. Things like volunteering, engaging in hobbies, or quality time with loved ones can provide fulfillment and resilience against burnout. What you want to do is you want to participate in activities that you find enjoyable and that provide you that mental break from work or your other responsibilities. So even think things like reading or gardening or painting or just spending a little time outdoors. Overall, mental rest is about intentionally creating space for your mind to unwind, recharge, and recover from the demands of daily life. By incorporating mental restorative practices into your routine, you can support your mental health, enhance cognitive function, and promote your overall well-being. Now, I know identifying this can seem easy enough, and even hearing what you can do can set you on the right path. But sometimes, despite our best efforts, you may still find yourself facing a mental rest deficit unexpectedly because we're not programmed to put rest first. And in these moments, it's important to have strategies in place to help you recover and to get that mental rest that you're seeking. And some of the key things are things like seeking outside support, reaching out to friends, your family, or even a professional if you're feeling overwhelmed or struggling to cope on your own. Learning to practice self-compassion. And this is one where you really have to create space for this. Learning to be kind to yourself and recognize that it's okay to take breaks and prioritize your mental health. We judge ourselves the hardest. And last, adjusting your expectations and being realistic about what you can accomplish and not being afraid to delegate tasks or just simply to say no. Embracing no is one of the hardest ones for me. But as the saying goes, if you say yes to something, you're saying no to yourself. And the recurring theme of this series is that you cannot pour from an empty cup. By implementing these strategies, you can foster a more resilient mindset and maintain balance in your life. So as we wrap up today's episode, I want to encourage you to reflect on your own mental rest habits and consider implementing some of the things we've discussed to promote a healthier, more balanced mindset. Remember, making mental rest a priority isn't just self-care. It's a powerful act of self-preservation, essential for your overall well-being. Until next time, thank you for listening. I'm back every Wednesday with a new episode, ready to share my knowledge and empower you to take control of your sleep. If you've enjoyed what you heard, please subscribe to the Doze Podcast. I still have lots to share with you as we work together towards creating solutions around your unique sleep challenges and needs. Until then, remember, your pure potential if you change how well you sleep.